So if it's fortune and adventure you seek, then Captain Edward Kenway's your man.
So discovering Edward, discovering this pirate universe that's within the AC brand, it was all super exciting from the get-go.
We don't just make visual art. We don't just get a lot of artists and make it look like the time period. We also want to make it sound like the time period. We want these people to have jobs that reflect the time period, lives that reflect the time period, attitudes that reflect it.
And we had this incredible cast to build upon, with Blackbeard, Charles Vane, Calico Jack, and all the rest.
One way we like to think about this story is that it's the revolution before the revolution. This is Nassau is a place where all these pirates threw off the chains of their empires. They literally thought of themselves as proto-statesmen in a kind of quasi-democracy. Edward, the way I approached it was, I took a look at what would be the average pirate at the time. He would have been from the British Isles. He would have been in his 20s. He would have been a sailor already, probably. So I worked all these things into his background.
We knew we wanted him to be English, to be Welsh, because we wanted that connection with 83, So we knew from the beginning that it will be the grandfather of Connor, the father of Etham, and this already placed his social origin, basically.
He does start off as a pirate, full-fledged pirate. He knows nothing about the Assassin Order or the Templars. He's just a guy in the West Indies, a sailor who happens to want money and to go after it. And then very quickly, he does something that gains the attention of the Assassins and the Templars, of course. He gets pulled into their feud unintentionally because of his actions.
Rather than this kind of coming-of-age story where we see a young man thrown into difficult circumstances and the Assassins provide a way forward, as it was with Ezio and Connor, certainly. Edward's approach is very different. He sees these Assassins and Templars. They both have their own goals, and Edward sees an opportunity to use both of them as a means of furthering his own personal goals. So very much a pirate. He's almost sort of pirating their techniques and pirating their attitudes.
So for a long time, he doesn't really understand the creed itself. And he tries to use it. And he tries to use the assassins to gain what he wants. All at the same time, it is seeping in slowly. So the struggle of pirate versus assassin is something that you see in Edward throughout the whole story, pretty much right till the end. And it's part of the fun of the adventure. It also was an excuse for us, to be honest, to introduce the creed to maybe new fans who are not quite familiar with it, to understand the philosophies of the Templars versus the philosophies of the Assassins.
And what we try to portray in our game is this initially sort of noble band of pirates, Ben Hornigold and Blackbeard. Their experiment in this quasi-democracy attracts worse and worse elements, so that by the end of it, it's just a free-for-all, and piracy really becomes a cancer. And it's up to Edward to kind of go like, do I want to continue with this or not? I'm not sure. Darby's
done a fantastic job with developing Edward's intricacies and the details of who he is. And all of this, it makes you root for him, it makes you want him to succeed, but at the same time, it kind of makes you like facepalm and be like, what are you doing, you moron?
The way that I conceived him was I kind of created a triangle with Haytham, Connor, and Edward, right? So I wanted to give a few personality quirks from Connor and Haytham, give them to Edward to make it feel like this was one big family. I gave a bit of the sort of sentimentality that Connor has, that sort of deep-seated idea that things will turn out well. I gave that to Edward, but also kind of Haytham's brutality and his brashness. He's definitely charismatic and a bit crass. He likes his drink. He's quite likely to get himself into a lot of trouble without thinking about it. He can be very brutal. He's a sincere guy, but he acts first asks questions later.
All those in favor of storming this cove and taking this ship, stomp and shout aye!
So Edward is much more reckless, brash young man. So we wanted to have the animation reflect this. So we went much more and we reviewed all the behavior animation to have something that is much more close to the bar fights. So we use the fist, we use the knees, etc. to really have this aspect of the pirate flavor that we wanted in the game.
So a lot of work has gone into speeding up Edward, making sure that he feels like an assassin and a sailor at the same time. Some of the climbing elements were felt to be a bit too slow in previous ACs, so we sped things up. Even just to do boarding, we wanted it to be fast. We wanted you, if you wanted to be up in the masts and kind of a master of your domain, we didn't want you to spend 30 seconds climbing rigging. So we put in a lot of mechanics to get you up there really fast.
For the combat and the fight, we really wanted to keep the game dynamic. So that there is always something, moving around him. We wanted a different style, obviously, because he is not Connor, he's not Altair or Ezio. So the dual sword fighting style was quite new, and also the fact that you could quickly, chain shotguns.
One of the big additions we made were the pistols. Pistols were really strong aspect of the pirate life, so we knew that they needed to be part of the combat system, but we had to balance them. The combat system is something that we wanted people to have a longer time to master. So the enemies are a bit tougher. On the flip side, we've made it much more accessible. So we have, for example, we have these tutorial systems that run in the background that will only activate when we notice you not understanding how to play. But this doesn't activate for, hardcore fans that know what they're doing, know how to play. They'll never see this.
Pirates were not only exuberant, fighters in ships, but they were also sneaking, in little towns, little forts to steal goods on the ground too.
For the stealth, we also really review all the animation to make sure that we improve the fluidity, to make sure that the player, when he's moving from a stealth position to another one, that really don't feel the change and you really feel immersed in the game.
We put the control in people's hands and we ask them, how does it feel to be Edward? Do you feel an assassin? Do you feel a pirate? And unanimously, you feel it.
I really wanted Black Flag to be kind of a sum of all what has been said, but also obviously something new, but something really made for newcomers so they can apprehend our universe on a very fresh way, but our fans will see basically and pick some links that exist, and I think everybody will love it.
A lot of the people on this team are fresh to the brand. And so this was something that I think UB specifically wanted to do with AC4, is bring in a bit of fresh blood to new ideas, new ways of thinking. For me, this is personally my first AC that I've worked on, and I love the brand, and I was super excited when I was approached to join. So that was very thrilling for me. As soon as we picked up the controller, it was okay. This is our game. We've had a lot of these moments in the game, in the development, where stuff just comes together, and it's like, okay, this is the game. This is perfect.
Sail for the Horn, way, hey, roll and go. Our boots and our clothes, boys, are all in the porn to be rollicking randy dandy home.